Hey, everyone. I have been so excited, just at the edge of my seat, waiting to have this very conversation. When I knew that it was time to do the Elevate series again, Ashish came to mind, Ryan Levesque came to mind, Justin Donald came to mind, as well as the others, but Ashish in particular. When the tariff conversation broke out on the media, Ashish pulled his team together and immediately institute a webinar series to help entrepreneurs understand what to do in the next 90 days to prepare for what was going to literally rock the world in a very significant way. I listened to that webinar. His leadership was shining so brightly. It was not doom and gloom and scare and terror. He was giving real, detailed, factual information in a very structured and organized and clear way, but also underneath this beautiful veil of how to protect yourself and how to lead from within. It was very powerful. A lot of this comes from his book, Hardwired for Happiness. Which is a very meaningful book to me. So Ashish and I actually got to meet while we were launching this book together, 9 proven practices to overcome stress and live your best life. Before this book came out, Ashish spent 17 years working within McKinsey consulting firm. It's one of the higher ups. And so you can imagine the clientele he had access to, the data that he had access to. So this particular conversation is what I'm really, really fired up about, because Ashish has one of the most unique vantage points on what's happening in entrepreneurship. And we are ready to really share openly and transparently with you about what's going on and what you can do to self-protect and even more, help others and hold space for others. Please share this interview on your social media feeds and your email newsletters. We've got to get the information out about Ashish's message. So Ashish, my beautiful friend, it's great to be here. Thank you so much. I know we only have a finite amount of time, so I'm going to ask that we dive right in.
Yeah.
What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What is unusual? What's standing out to you? Anything that you can feel called to share in this moment, please.
Yeah. First of all, Amber, thank you for what you do and your energy. Um, it's when I was launching my book, if you remember the thesis of the book, right, is this notion, which is really relevant even more today than last 2 years ago when we launched it.
Yes.
By the way, in next week it launches in India, so 1,000,000,005 people get a chance to access it.
Congratulations.
It's being launched by Bloomsbury. They picked it up, and that's going to be available to everyone. But what I wrote about, and the reason the book is called Hardwired for Happiness, was the fact that we are wired for fear. We are wired. Our brains evolved to keep us safe, not happy. And I think that's an important construct, folks, because the idea behind the book was that if you looked over the millions of years, that's how we've evolved, right? So we have a negativity bias. We have a huge bias towards looking for safety, focus on self, focusing on the here and now. And we get triggered when anything threatens our identity, our way of being, our safety, right? And we literally fall into what's called an amygdala hijack, where we can't think clearly, we're in a brain fog, our limbic, our older part of the brain is in control, and we react, we don't respond. We lose the ability to respond consciously, we just react. And the book was really around how do you do foundational work to shift that wiring from a place of grounding to engage with a focus on the interbeing nature of the world, with a focus on purpose and your bigger why. That's really what the book was about. So Amber, and then I launched Happiness Squad with that mission, right? Is like, listen, the world is going crazy. We have more volatility and uncertainty. This was pre-chat GPT, right? So there was a whole level of volatility and uncertainty and that was going to come out. But this is even before that. And we knew that because I was researching this at McKinsey. And we knew that if we have to do well and we have to thrive in the external world, we have to master our inner worlds. That is even more relevant today, right? That is even more relevant today. Because look at what's happened, right? Even in the last 3 months, the level of uncertainty, we don't know what the tariffs are going to be. Nobody knows. So planning is out the door. The stock market, it's now only down 3%, but at one point it was down 10%. So, right. And as I read somebody's very funny line, it's not that funny, but it's like, many 401ks are down to 301ks.
Right.
And it was true, right? People have lost personal money. Your businesses, that many, 50% of the economy is fired by small, medium businesses. Literally 80% of the businesses are expected to go under who actually have imports from China. 80%, that was in the Business Insider. So when you have these kind of literally existential threats coming your way, we are not in the best place. And so that book was all about how do you actually shift. Um, and that's, I think, my biggest thing. I think right now I see so many people who are in this really interesting, either they're really upset and they think they're going to fight, or they're frozen. I don't know what to do. I'll just have to see what happens in 90 days, and either I exist or I don't, right? So they're freezing, or they're just running for the doors, right? People are like, oh my God, I got to figure it out. I think the future will be written by companies and individuals who take this as an opportunity to really rethink how they do business and how internally they manage their companies and their teams. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. It's easier said than done if you're triggered. But if you're not, you actually look at this and say, okay, how do I use this to my advantage? What are some things that I can do? And there is no better time than now to build these skills.
I completely agree. I had an opening kickoff on Monday, Ashish, to the Elevate series, and I was just talking about why am I doing this? I had other plans for the next 6 months, and it was 2 weeks ago that I was on the beach in California, and I was just doing some really quiet reflection and just listening to the voice within. Because in a moment like this, with everything competing for our attention, the brain goes in overdrive, right? And it's designed to protect you. But really, it can just make you hysterical. And I
Yeah.
know that. So what I try to do is just get really still and listen to my intuitive voice within. And I was just really reflecting on, like, gosh, what is being called forward right now? And I did not want to get into a place of fear and hysteria, because I don't have that kind of resource to waste
Yeah.
right now. And so I'm sharing this to those of you who are feeling like you're getting lost in that hysteria and panic and fear and gossip and drama and chitter chattering with everybody. We only have so much energy every single day. And do you want to spend it engaging in that, or kind of grounding in and thinking, where is the opportunity in this moment? And for me, Ashish, I'm just going to be honest that I don't see the opportunity yet. I know that I really believe that I'll be protected either way, because I'm a person that is here in service to others. And so I have that go-giver spirit about me of, like, the more I give, it will just come back and protect me. And that has always worked historically in the past. I think people are really looking for voices that are calm and real, right? Because there's so much
100%.
disillusionment that's happening. But really, when you find, Ashish, that if, let's imagine somebody's out there just stuck in that panic, maybe not taking as good of care of themselves, and so they're having a hard time rethinking how they even do business. They're just exhausted at the end of the day, and probably layering on frustration with spouse, like if there's some conflict and pressure that's happening, or layering on guilt and shame for maybe lashing out at a kid or somebody in the Starbucks line, not meaning to, but just out of the sheer frustration that is built up inside. We can only do so much. So what are some of the ways that you could offer advice to that person to
Yeah.
help them get to a place where they can rethink what to do in their business?
Well, I'll give you the very short answer and I'll give you a medium answer. The good news is, as you know, we launched this webinar series, right? Anybody who's listening, it's there, it's for free. That is not our business. That is not what we do. I literally asked four of my friends who were Fortune 500 CPOs who are all retired. I called them on that week on March. It was April 11th was our anniversary. April 8th or 9th is when the tariffs were announced. I called them the next day and I said, listen, let's go do this. So all of that conversation with a person who teaches pricing for 20 years, Dave, who was the CPO of Kellogg, Brad, who was the CPO of JBS, Chuck, who was the CPO of Schwab. All of those conversations, we have the videos on the webpage. This Friday, I will lead a 60-minute one just on the topic of adaptability and resilience.
Oh, great, Ashish.
Right?
Awesome.
Specifically on that, it is a
Great.
program that we've run with Google for the last 3 years. Right? They've taken 450 managers through it. And I'm going to run one of the modules from that around adaptability and resilience.
Thank you.
This Friday. So it's free. You can join it. It'll be available on YouTube. So anybody who's listening, please come. Adaptability and resilience at the beginning of this year was rated as the number 2 skill by the World Economic Forum as going to be the most important capability going forward.
What's the first one really quickly?
I don't remember.
It doesn't surprise me to hear that though.
But it was number 2. I think if they did it today, it would be number 1.
Okay. Oh,
right?
For sure.
I'm pretty sure because everything is completely changed. And my invitation, friends, is look, if you think about tariffs, you're probably thinking one of these things. Yeah, I'm going to price forward, right? I can negotiate my way. I'm going to negotiate hard with my suppliers. Any of those moves that you do can be done from a place of fear, or it can be done from a place of intention, grounding. So we really think about this as the core center. So I think here are 3 specific things for you to consider, and then come join that webinar for sure.
Okay.
I think number 1 we all have a unique signature for when we are triggered, right? Some of us experience a pit in the stomach. We might get heated. We might actually feel brain fog. Others of us actually get really tight. So notice your shift in your body. Notice your breathing pattern of where you are. Pre-tariffs, pre-COVID, 60 to 80% of people are in a triggered state through the day. You run businesses, this is part of your life. And we are operating from that place, accumulating and in the pressures of all those adrenaline and cortisol, right? Which is corrosive. So literally the first step is to know where you are. If you don't know where you are, what am I experiencing right now? What kind of state I am in right now? Very little is possible. So my very simple thing is we all have Apple Watches. It all tells us to walk once, to move once, every hour. If you have a Fitbit, whatever. If you don't, just take your phone and put an alarm for every hour or a timer. And every hour, just notice where you are. Just do a quick check-in, right? Close your eyes and just do a check-in. What's my thought? What's my emotion? What am I feeling? And if you notice it is one of anger or one of anxiety or one of sadness or any of these other things, create a pause. Stop what you're doing and don't go back onto your computer and start doing something else. Just figure out what will give you a pause. For some, it might be a breath. For some, it might be remembering a loved one. For some, it might be actually walking out and being in the sun and recognizing and seeing ourselves in conjunction in everything else, to know that there is so much happening around and we are part of that. It might be planting your feet. There are lots of different ways. We'll share some of those on Friday, but find your pause. Don't keep barreling through. Over the last couple of years, I've served the U.S. Olympic Committee. I've served the USA gymnastics teams. I've served the USA ski and snowboard, the organizations that literally run the sport for the country. They all know this. We don't burn out because of stress. There is a story, stress burns us out. Stress does not burn us out. Our bodies are designed to take pressure and stress. We burn out because we don't recover.
Interesting.
Pause is the way you recover. The more stressed you are, the more recoveries you need. And they don't need to take 30 minutes. I'm not suggesting every hour take a 30-minute break. Right.
Right. Well, it can happen very quickly. I mean,
1 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
1 to 5 minutes is all it takes. But if you do it intentionally throughout, I think you are at a very different place, right? You can be in a very different place. And I think that's where, Amber, the third move comes in, which we'll talk a little bit about. So as you said, my mind is going all over. I'm triggered. I'm like, I don't want to give into fear. I want to calm. I want to ground, right? That's great. So now you're ground, you're calm. Now what? It's still there, right? The situation is still there. The situation hasn't changed. You've changed your biochemistry. You've grounded, but the situation is still there.
Right.
So you've still got to move. You still make a move. And the moves, we can be intentional through the questions and literally choose a different lens through which to move. Our usual lenses, even when we are calm, even after I've calmed down, if something happens, these are the 4 questions that come naturally to me. It might be different for you. Why is this happening? Who's to blame? Why hasn't this fixed? And what is going to fix it? I'm looking for this perfect solution that's going to get it out, right? Completely unhelpful questions because they don't shine the light forward. We fall into what's called anti-learning mindsets. We start thinking of ourselves as an expert and feeling bad about it. We start thinking ourselves as only so many resources and so scarcity. We feel like a victim and hence we take on helplessness. And there are like 5 other mindsets like that. Instead, we can consciously use the 5 mindsets that we call learning or resilient mindsets. They don't come naturally to us, but they are, again, lenses through which we see the world. So instead of saying, I should know the answer, and if you're an owner, everybody's looking to you to say, hey, what should I do right now? Amber, what do you think is the answer? How should we move forward?
Which is intense.
Right? The procurement guy is saying, hey, I've got all these price increases. What should I do? The sales guys, hey, I got to take pricing. My customers are interested. What do you think I should do? Right? All these questions coming at you. You might feel you should know the answer as the CEO or as the, one of the senior leaders, expert. Instead, you can use the mindset of curiosity. What can I learn from this? What are the other perspectives? What are the other moves other than just take price or fight back that might be possible? Instead of scarcity, I don't have enough. What is it that I have? I've been in business for so long, right? There's a set of these questions that we'll talk a bit in detail about on Friday, but you can use it, right? You can use these. I literally, when I was practicing and integrating them into my life, printed out those questions on a piece of paper. I stuck it on my notebook. And so the moment when in a meeting or in a conversation, I felt triggered, I saw those questions of who's to blame, etc. coming up, I would pause. My pause was breath, smiling, and 6 breaths. And then I would literally go bingo. I would pick one of the questions from those 6 and I would ask that question.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
I would just ask that question. Like, I don't need to give the answer. I ask that question and let the conversation happen. And all of a sudden, curiously enough, instead of controlling where I think and I have no idea, now I'm faking it, I just, through curiosity, created a space for us to explore multiple answers.
Outstanding. I love that. So we all need to be at your webinar on Friday. Like, that's happening.
Yeah, you can do that. We'll also give you the link to the article I published that I co-authored it based on almost 9 months of research at McKinsey around adaptability and resilience. We called it the Adaptability.
Oh, amazing.
But I think, friends, this is one of the core skills. Adaptability is a learned skill. We can build it. The best time to learn it is not like swimming when you are off the cruiser in the water. The best time is is when you're in a swimming pool. There's 60 more days. 45 more days. And this, by the way, is not going to go away. This is, I think, going to be the reality for the next 3.5 years. I think things are going to change rapidly. We need to be, and it has nothing to do with the administration. Chat GPT and the evolution of that and what it means for our businesses, that thing is growing and improving faster than any other technology. There is massive shifts. And if you don't think about it, you're like, yeah, it's not going to happen. It is.
It's already happening.
It already is happening. And you have to think about it. So adaptability is the key. And so build it now, because it will serve your businesses, your families better than any other skill.
That is outstanding advice. And I want to squeeze in time for one more question, Ashish, and you actually started bridging into it, which was perfect. Through your time at McKinsey and even your schooling in advance of that, I've always been so impressed with how you have spent your life in education and data and research and connecting trends and all of that. So you have seen this history of humanity getting up to this point. You have all of that data behind you. I'm wondering what makes this time unique and different to you. Where do you think that things are headed? Any predictions that you might have? We now know that you're saying 3.5 years, especially with AI, adaptability, resilience is the path forward. You've got to learn this now. Anything else that shines a light that the rest of us may not be able to see the way that you can because of your history of all of these data points?
Well, listen, I think there's a couple of them. I'm going to give the statistics. I think this is almost like 10 years old now, but it's more relevant today than before, right? According to the research at Harvard, adult development theory, folks can look it up, Bob Keegan and Lisa Leahy's work. Only 20% of leaders are at a stage of development, adult development, at a stage of development in terms of our ability to make sense of the world. They're at a stage that allows them to thrive in complexity. 80% of us can barely survive. That's all we can do is survive, okay, versus get killed. This was true 20 years ago. Today, it is more true now, right? I think that number is even higher because the complexity has gone up so much. Einstein said this best: we can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it, right? From the same level, we have to actually evolve. And the standard move from those who are not able to hold the complexity is to dumb things down. Complex worlds need very different approaches and frameworks, both internal frameworks to navigate and external frameworks, than complicated or simple world with deterministic problems. The world we are in is highly undeterministic, which means it is unpredictable. Predictable things can be solved. You can root cause out of, you can do so many things. Engineers are good at that, finance are good at that. In this world, we have to experiment our way forward. We have to learn to fail fast. We can't do any of those as organizations or individuals unless we are operating from a higher level of consciousness. How do you get to a higher level of consciousness? What the hell is this consciousness? Consciousness is how we experience the world, right? And so that's where, many of the Hardwired for Happiness practices came in. It was about, unless we fundamentally look, we see the world as we are, not as the world is. And so we want to see the world differently with more fidelity. We have to evolve our apparatus. And the way we evolve our apparatus is not by reading more, but by practicing more. And so if we practice a set of proven moves that can rewire our brains away from fear, we can do that. Right? Meditation is one of those. Gratitude is one of those. Compassion is one of those. Purpose is one of those. That's the way we're going to evolve. But that is the reality. Right now, most leaders are not equipped from a data point of view. And that's why as things become more volatile, more uncertain, more complex, the most important move you can make right now, and you have 100% control over it. Outside world, you have less than 5% control. Less than 5%. And I was the guy who thought 95% was in my control for 20 plus years, right? You have less than 5% that you control.
Wow.
But there is one thing you control 100%. It is your inner world. It's how you choose to see the world. 100% in your control. So if we focus our energy inwards to thrive, to evolve, we will thrive out there because we'll be better positioned to dance in complexity.
Hmm. Oh, Ashish, I'm excited for your upcoming webinar series. I'm really, I mean, just as your friend, I want to say, I know that it was a big decision for you to exit McKinsey and to go all in on Happiness Squad in this book. And I see where your purpose and where your life is taking you. And I am so just grateful to be in your circle. You're really doing great work in the world. And I know what it's like when you're in the presence of someone like Ashish and you're like, but I don't know about the levels of consciousness and what this means. And it's like, we all start where we start, but the key is that you start. The key is that we don't, go home and binge watch Netflix and escape and drink more and eat more cookies and, do things that are going to bring down our energy and make us more tired. This is the time when we make hard choices to do the things that are life-giving. And you can just really simply pay attention to your body. Like last night, maybe what I wanted to do is eat a big plate of pasta. What I did was I ate a kale salad. And guess what? I woke up today, mental clarity, toughness. I'm strong. I'm energetic. I'm happy. It's because I'm making choices. I got a massage last night. I took a bath. I was listening to good music. I went to bed. I got a great night of sleep. These are all things that I didn't necessarily want to do, but it's what I forced myself to do so that I could bring this into the world today. So these are all things that who you surround yourself with matters now more than ever before. And I'm happy to introduce you to Ashish Kothari. I fully endorse his work in the world and encourage you to follow him. Ashish, thank you so much for your time and your love and energy here today and taking care of yourself so that we may all benefit from your wisdom. We will be back on the Elevate series tomorrow with Brian McMahon, who is big in the VC startup world. He is an entrepreneur consultant in over 35 countries. So really interested to get his perspective as well. We will see you in the chat comments for those of you who are watching the replay. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to put those in the comments. You can get access to our replay and transcript, as well as schedule and speaker bonuses here at ambervillarhauer.com/elevate. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks again, Ashish. So much love and respect to you.
Thank you, Amber. And listen, friends, it is choppy out there. Remember this. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Boats in storms don't drown because of the water around them. Boats drown because of the water that gets in them.
It's one of my favorite quotes.
So make sure that you waterproof and make yourself airtight and watertight. All the best. And thank you, Amber, for pulling all these folks together and doing what you do best, serve the world.
Thank you, Ashish.